You know where you get all the details for your daily dose of motorsports adrenaline. So if you have not yet subscribed to Forward Motorsports, do it now unless you're a slowpoke. So let's get started with our story for today. Is MotoGP champion Fabio Quartararo having a big impact on Yamaha as Marc Marquez did in Honda in the recent years? Keith Huewen certainly thinks so. Sunday's Portuguese race once again highlighted just how good the reigning world champion is. Quartararo, who started from 5th, made a brilliant getaway as he slotted into 2nd place come the end of lap 1. 2 laps later and P1 was his after getting through on mid at turn 1. The two previous champions were expected to fight it out all race, but after pumping 8 tenths into the Suzuki rider in just 1 lap, a two-way fight quickly became a wish for everyone watching, not a reality. Quartararo grew his lead to over 6 seconds, eventually won by 5.4 seconds in what was most easily the dominant performance by any rider this year. Speaking on his weekly GP podcast, Grand Prix expert Keith Huewen had very high praise for Quartararo. In fact, he believes the Frenchman is masking big problems at Yamaha to the same extent that Marquez did for years at Honda. I've said it on Twitter earlier on in the weekend. Basically, Fabio Quartararo is the Marc Marquez of Yamaha. It's Quartararo who's been cutting the mustard every time. Whatever the reason, he manages to make the package work when it's not possible to make it work. Just like Marquez used to do with Honda. There was no one who could consistently get the results that Marquez could on Honda. It's pretty much still the same. But Honda are just a little bit at sea at the moment. While no two circuits are the same, which is likely to cause more inconsistent results, not just for Quartararo but for the whole grid, very few can win in the way Quartararo did at Portimao. Going into the last weekend, Quartararo was responsible for the Japanese manufacturer's only podium of the year, which is why Huewen believes that Quartararo dug his managing director Lynn Jarvis out of a big hole. Huewen continued, what a year. We've had 10 podium finishers, which is more than Moto3 and Moto2. Quartararo is good and there is Portimao. And maybe the fact the bike hasn't changed at all suits the fact that they have no data. They only have one dry session, which was the warm-up session on Sunday morning, which was really cold. Everything else had been really miserable, wet, patchy and dodgy. So the fact was the Yamaha by virtue was not changing much. Had the same tires as last year, I think. So data-wise, they had everything they needed and that was maybe an advantage for them. But what a ride for Quartararo. On a day where his racing manager had his 400th race, Quartararo absolutely dug him out of a massive grey hole. I've never ever seen Jarvis with a bigger grin on his face. His job and the factory job must have looked just a little bit tenuous over the last few months with the way they haven't made any progress. But on his 400th race, they get a win from nowhere. Quartararo was imperious and no one could get near him.